Alright, so today I want to showcase my upcoming females that I'm going to use as replacements for my old breeding stock for my female ball pythons. And when I first got into ball pythons, I got really low-end females. Essentially what I did is I put all my money in my rack systems, and I didn't really have a lot of money left over for females. So what I did is I bought like 4 female normals. I had 2 normals, 100% head caramel albinos, and some pastels, and I think I have 4 lemon blast females. So it's kind of really the low end of, the stuff. It actually sells really good at the shows because it produces a lot of low end snakes. I'd say from $300 down to maybe $50, and people just gobble them up because it's really cheap. But I really want to advance my collection. I have a lot of stuff that I held back from last year, a lot of projects that I invested in that I've been growing up over the last couple of years, and I want to show you those females, pull them out, and take a weight. I think there's 14 females. We'll take a look at those. And then what I want to show you is I kind of want to go through my rack of old females, show you what I'm going to eventually phase out. Maybe you'll be interested in it at some point. I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is for phasing them out. I'll probably start phasing out a couple normal females at a time, and it's hard because you make money from these snakes, and sometimes with the really big snakes they have really large clutches and you hate to really get rid of them, but I don't really want to expand more beyond essentially what I have here in the room, at least not at this point. Then I want to show you my 2 hatchlings racks. Let me tell you, if you're thinking about breeding ball pythons on a level like I am, producing about 100 hatchlings a year, doesn't sound like 100 is a lot until you look at these racks, and then you're like, wow, that's a lot of snakes, especially when you think about feeding and the maintenance on all these snakes. Probably the hardest part is going through 100 tubs and feeding them every week, and then going through once a month and actually cleaning all the tubs for 100 hatchlings. So let's jump into it, and I'll show you my females, my old females, my new females, and these hatchling racks. Alright, so I'm going to start with my older females. This is essentially the rack that I have them in. I have Sunny here. He is my super dwarf retic. He's actually breeding Lucy, who's my other reticulated python. But other than my retics, I have all female ball pythons in the top and the bottom. I have my really big stuff in the bottom and kind of the full-size females up on top. So I do have some stuff like an albino het pied. I'll probably keep my albinos. I have a pied female who is a really picky eater. She drives me crazy, but I think I'm going to keep her. So essentially, I also have a lesser female. I'm kind of on the edge with the lesser. She laid some good eggs this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that one or not. But I have a normal here that I'll get rid of. A pastel I'll get rid of. I have the Pastel Spider Desert Ghost. That one is actually one of my replacements. I have another normal. I'll probably get rid of that one. A Lemon Blast, a normal, a pastel, another Lemon Blast. I'll probably get rid of all those. And these het caramels, essentially what I'm going to do with these het caramel albinos is I have a couple male scaleless heads, 50% het caramel albino. I'm hoping to breed them back to these females to get a scaleless head visual caramel albino, and then as soon as I hit that, I'll probably unload these 2 het caramels, which are really my biggest snake. My clutch sizes are like 13 to 15 eggs. They've been super productive. I have another lesser. I'll probably get rid of my lessers because I do have a lesser bamboo male and I can produce a lot of lessers. I have another Lemon Blast down here, another Lemon Blast. I'll probably get rid of those. I have my pastel calico female. I'm not quite sure about that because I do have a bamboo calico male. I have my Jungle Woma spider. I'll probably keep that just to play around with the Jungle Woma gene a little bit. And then I have a pinstripe. I'll probably unload that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Just a few snakes I'm keeping and the snakes that I'm eventually going to unload. But I'll probably slowly phase out. I don't really have anything for sale right now. It'll just be an eventually unloading. So if you're wondering what 100 hatchlings look like, this is an ARS 1039 right here. So all these tubs right here, these are 39. These are slowly filling up with hatchlings. So I have some stuff like this scaleless head lesser in here. He's a good looking snake. And So that is what 39 looks like, but take a look at this. This is what an ARS 1065 looks like. So last year I had that plus this almost completely full. Let me tell you, that is an incredible amount of snakes. Once you start filling up these racks, it is a lot to take care of. I was actually surprised on how much work it was to actually feed and maintain these on top of everything else I got going on here. I have all my rats over here. I'd say the rats are probably, you know, one of the biggest things. I have the rats, and then my females, plus I have all these up here. So in this rack, this is what I'm going to go through. I'm going to pull some of these females out of this rack. I have some males, some replacement females, and we'll get a weight on some of these guys. All right, so here's my first one. This is actually one I tried to breed this year for her first time, and she didn't go. This is one of my most impressive ball pythons. This is a pastel spider desert ghost. And I would say a big girl like this would be fairly expensive. If you bought something like this, it'd probably be at least $1,500 or more for an adult female. This is a really stunning snake. And I think, I can't remember the price that I paid for 2 of these, but I actually got the male with it that doesn't have the spider in it. And I tried to breed them together. She didn't go. So if we get a weight on her, let's see if I can. I'm definitely going to pair her up this year. She is at 1,818 grams, so I'll definitely try to pair her up again if she goes back on feed. So I paired her up, and she used to eat like a pig, and she was so big and fat, and then as soon as I paired her up, she stopped eating, and then ever since then she went off of food and hasn't been eating. So that is kind of the danger of pairing them up a little too early, that they can actually go off of feed. And essentially what it does is if you pair them up too early, what it does is it keeps them smaller, and they don't gain the weight as they otherwise would. You know, if you don't breed them for like 3 years, then they get nice and big and hefty, and then they don't go through the cycle of breeding and fasting, and then you're trying to get enough food in them for the next breeding season. It's kind of a fight against their weight. So it's always best to give them some extra time to actually, before you breed them the first time. But she is a really beautiful snake, and you can't really tell in this girl that the spider affects her head wobble at all. I would say it's probably one of the least noticeable head wobbles as far as any snake with the spider. And the spider, you know, there's kind of a lot of a debate about breeding the spider, but in this case, you know, she doesn't really have a head wobble, and she is an impressive looking snake. So I'm definitely going to work on breeding her, and even if she has spider in her. Here is an impressive snake. Take a look at this one. This is actually a lemon blast with the bamboo on top of it. It is pretty impressive. I'll definitely keep this girl. She's definitely not big enough, but it'll probably be another year at least. She definitely won't breed this year, maybe next year. She's kind of went on a fast. I'm thinking it's like the 1,000-gram wall that she hit. Let's see how big she is. She's coming in at 773 grams. Definitely not big enough. So normally you have to be at least, they have to be at least 1,500 grams usually to breed. And if they're eating really good, sometimes I'll pair them up a little bit earlier. I definitely would wait until they're after 1,500 grams to pair them up for the first year. And I definitely wouldn't pair them up unless they're eating really well going into the breeding season. So this is another really impressive snake. This one's actually a pastel with the scaleless head gene on top of it. So essentially what you do is they have a few scales missing from the head. You breed 2 of them together, and a certain percentage of the babies will come out completely scaleless with no scales on the entire snake, which I've never actually produced one. So this will be my first time producing one if I can actually get these girls to breed. These were actually for sale at the show, and they didn't sell. And I think, you know, the cheap ones sell easier, and then I think you really need to do like Morph Market or something for the more expensive stuff to get a bigger audience to buy these. But I decided just to hold back everything I have as far as my scaleless head and then breed it, because the completely scaleless ball pythons are still selling for several $1,000s a piece. So it's a really kind of still a pretty valuable snake. And this girl, she's definitely not up to weight, I don't think. She's coming in at 899 grams. But you have to keep in mind there's still a few months before this breeding season, and I would say she's definitely not ready for this year. She's about 1 year old, so I'm definitely gonna have to wait at least 1 more year. I've actually had luck pairing up my clown at 2 years old, and she laid some eggs. So I would say sometimes if they're eating really well, you can actually breed them on their 2nd year, but I'd say typically you have to wait for 3 years, because essentially what will happen is they'll go on a fast at some point, and then you kind of have to work them through the fast before they go back on food. But it's really interesting how the scaleless head really brightens up the pastel. It is really an amazing animal. So I actually have a couple female scaleless head, 50% het caramel albinos. This is one of them, and this is still, I would say, kind of a low-end snake as far as the scaleless head project. I actually popped out a lesser scaleless head. I'm actually hoping that one is actually a female, but this is kind of my jump start into the scaleless head, so I'm gonna actually raise these up, breed them, see if I can get some totally scaleless, then I'll hold back the totally scaleless and unload these and try to work more genes into the scaleless head project. This one is definitely not big enough, I'm sure. 564 grams. This one's got a long ways. I'd say this one's probably got at least a year, maybe a year and a half or 2 years before this one's ready to go. But it's, you know, the scaleless head project, when I got into it, it was a lot more expensive than it is now. So it keeps kind of coming down the more popular they are. But it's still a really cool project. I can't wait to make my first scaleless head, totally scaleless ball python. So I actually hit some really good odds when I produced this girl. This is a lemon blast scaleless head. Look at how there's quite a few scales missing from this girl's head. And when I first hatched these out, these were selling for $6,000 a piece. And it's always a decision, do I want to sell it or do I want to keep it for future breeding? Because potentially I could make more if I breed it and produce completely scaleless ball pythons. But of course, by the time this one breeds and you make the totally scaleless lemon blast, then this one will be probably worth 1,500 bucks. You know, so you're always kind of chasing the prices and the morphs. And then of course, if you produce a scaleless lemon blast, you want to hold that one back too. So you're kind of always kind of behind the cutting edge of what's out there. This one's coming in at 849 grams. And these, I actually have 2 of them, and they fasted for a long time. They're finally back on food, getting some really decent weight. They're getting really nice and chunky. So here's another female scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino. So there's a 50% chance that this carries the caramel albino gene, and I have 2 of them, so you'd think the odds between both of them would be 100%. Hopefully at one or the other will have the caramel albino gene. And I actually have 3 males that are scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino. So you know what I'm thinking, if I can figure out which ones actually het caramel albino and breed them together, I could potentially produce, maybe on the first pairing, a completely scaleless visual caramel albino, which would probably be the world's first. Of course, we got another year or 2 before I can actually even attempt a breeding. This girl's coming in at 780 grams, so she's about halfway to where she needs to be. It's still going to be a while before this girl's breeding. Here's my other female lemon blast scaleless head. She is really bright. She's a lot brighter than the other one. And the funny thing is, the really weird thing about this is they both hatched from the same clutch, and when I tried to feed them, they would either both eat or they both wouldn't eat. At almost every single time, feeding after feeding after feeding, month after month, they were like right on course. I don't know if it was something genetic about the feeding or what it was, or it was the exact same age of the same clutch or what it was, but it was just, I thought it was really odd that they both would feed and then they both wouldn't feed, and really they were pretty much head to head up until the last month or 2 when one of them would fast and the other one's eating. But it was kind of interesting how they would like either both feed or they both wouldn't feed. It was weird. This one's coming in at 661, so you can see this one's actually fasting a little bit more than the other one, but I'm really looking forward to breeding these girls. All right, so this is my lesser clown female. Look at how big she is. She is a really big girl, and this is essentially 2 years old. So actually, let's see, this one is Yeah, 2 years, just 2 years old. I can't believe it. I was like, wait a minute, this can't be 2 years old, but she is only 2. As a matter of fact, I paired up my clown without the lesser, and that one fasted for a long time, laid some eggs, and it's quite a bit smaller than this. And this is really the benefit of waiting to breed your snakes, because they get really big and chunky. Let me see what the weight is on this girl. I'm definitely gonna pair her up. She is 1,984 grams. She is definitely breeding size. This is a big girl for only being 2 years old. And you know, that new snake that I bought, it's an Enchi Banana Clown. I'm gonna pair that one with this and shoot for the Enchi Banana Lesser Clown. Just look at how beautiful she is. It's interesting, she has a little heart right here, which is kind of cool. She is a really awesome snake. I think I paid close to $1,000 for this girl when I bought it, so it was kind of more of a high-end project that I actually invested into. So here is a really beautiful snake. This is an example of a 3-year-old ball python, still really not quite ready to breed. And the problem with this girl is she's been really picky feeding. This is a pinstripe pie that I actually bought as a hatchling 3 years ago, and she's been super finicky. She just will not eat and will not eat. The only thing she'll eat really is live rats, and she'll fast for months and months. I'll try frozen thawed, fresh killed, this and that. I'll try mice, nothing. I throw a live rat in there and she eats it. I don't really like feeding live, and every now and then, just to kind of keep her healthy, I'll throw a live rat in there, a pretty small one, and she'll eat it. But you know, if it wasn't for that, she would be up to size a little bit better. She's probably, I bet she's over 1,500. Let's see what she's at. Oh, maybe not. 1,432. So this is, if you're wondering what 1,500 grams is, this one is pretty close. This is pretty much the cutoff for breeding, and the way she's been eating, I probably won't pair her this year. I'll probably give her 1 more year and see if I can get a little bit more weight on her before actually pairing her up. Alright, so with this snake, I'm actually risking taking a bite because this one is quite a bit snappy. It is probably my most defensive snake. This is a really pretty, this is a bumblebee, possible yellow belly, which is possibly my only yellow belly in my whole collection, and possible het pied. This is one of my very first snakes, and I actually bought her in she's actually from 2015. So the problem is she is really jumpy and just will not eat, refuses to eat anything except live. And I try to get in there in her enclosure, and she will actually snap at me, and she gets really freaked out. And she's probably one of my biggest problem ball pythons. You can see she's got a little bit of head wobble from the spider. I actually bought her before I even knew what the spider was as far as the head wobble, and she's a little bit in shed, and I'm not exactly sure if I actually want to breed this one or not because of the spider and the head wobble. So this is kind of one of the ones I may actually unload, maybe as pet quality only because of the head wobble. And I don't know, I kind of feel bad because she is just really snappy and defensive. I think with a lot of handling she could probably calm down, but I really haven't worked with her a whole lot. And every time I work with her, it seems like I almost take a bite. So she's been pretty much one of my biggest problem snakes. All right, so take a look at this girl. This is another one. I'm going to breed that clown to the Banana Enchi Clown male. I'm breed it to this one. This is just a straight clown, and look at how beefy she is. She actually just laid 6 eggs, and she's been pounding the rat. She actually ate her first rat the week after she laid eggs, which is super unusual. She's almost up to breeding size again. I can breed her again. She's at 1652. It's pretty incredible that she's up to size already. She's definitely going to be a good breeder this fall, and especially if she keeps eating, I'll definitely breed this one again. This snake is super stunning. Take a look at this bright white, super white snake. This is actually a lesser pied, so it's a pied with a lesser gene on top of it, and the lesser completely wipes out all of the color of the snake. And this one happens to be a mouser only. She'll only eat adult frozen or thawed or fresh killed mice. And that is why she's kind of long and skinny. She's only coming in and, well, she's 1538, so she's a long, skinny 1500, which is kind of interesting. She's a really beautiful snake. I'm not sure if we're going to pair her up because she doesn't really look like she has the girth to actually produce some eggs, but she's a really beautiful snake. So here's another all-white snake. This is actually a spider pied, and they call it the white wedding because it doesn't have any color on the head. And the problem with both of these white snakes is they both seem to be mousers. And for some reason, I don't know what it is with the white snakes and the mice, they just refuse to eat anything else. They'll come right up to a rat and they'll sniff it, and you can tell you they really want it, but they just won't take it. And I'll give them a mouse and they'll take it instantly right away. And this girl, I would say she's probably not the size to breed. She's only 1,070 grams. Still not big enough. And let's see, she is from she's from 2016. So she's actually 4 years old, and she fasted a super long time. It took me a long time to figure out what she was eating. I actually bought it from another breeder, and I think she was on mice for too long, and she kind of got stuck on mice instead of transitioning over to rats, and I just couldn't get her back over to rats. But she is a really beautiful snake. And yeah, it's sometimes it's just a struggle. I mean, hopefully I can breed this snake in the next 10 years. Sometimes it is just a long marathon to wait for some of these snakes. All right, so out of all those replacement females, it looks like there's just 2 that I can pair up this fall, and those are my clowns, the lesser clown female and the regular clown female. And that's one of the reasons I bought my banana inchy clown male, that hopefully if the male's big enough here in a few months, I can actually pair them up and they'll actually lay some eggs next spring, which would be pretty cool. Another interesting thing is I have my very first piece of fan mail, the very first piece of mail that came from one of my YouTubers going to my P.O. box. I actually put a little blurb underneath my videos in every single video. I put it under there. It's a P.O. box for my fan mail. This is the very first piece of mail that actually came from YouTube. And this actually came from Fresno, California. And I thought I'd read it to you real quick, just kind of out of curiosity to see what you think about this. This is, "Hi, my name is Gabriel. I live in Fresno, California. I am interested in a bamboo snake from you. Please call me." And she put her phone number there. I thought that was kind of cute. And I started thinking, wait a minute, is this really fan mail or is it a customer? And I think it's more of a customer. Could be a fan too, I don't know. Anyway, nevertheless, it is the very first piece of mail that I got in my P.O. box from being a YouTuber. It's kind of interesting. I've never thought that I'd get fan mail or even be promoting fan mail. It's just kind of hard to think about. And I tell you, Gabriel, I'm not really selling any bamboos right now. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to sell them on the internet. I have 2 bamboos up on my rack and they haven't eaten a single meal yet. So it takes at least 6 meals before they're ready to go. And probably what I'll do is I'll wait until these racks are full of snakes, until I have like 50 or 60 snakes that are ready to go before I actively start promoting them. I want to make sure they get to a really good size and they're eating really well. And usually once they hit 6 meals, they get super aggressive and snappy, and really it takes a few meals past that for them to really calm down and be decent snakes like Bobby, so they're not biting at you, which can kind of freak some people out. So I'm thinking maybe in a couple months I'll have some for sale. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like morph market or like an auction type of thing, or exactly how I'm going to market my snakes, but I will keep you posted as I progress on my videos. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.